Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my wonderful and beautiful little subscribers out there. And I love you all so, and I hope that you're all super duper well, super duper wonderful, and super duper delicious. And that life is treating you most deliciously wherever you are. So, what do we do? 3, 2, 1, my juice little lights. Thank you, little lights. You're delicious and bright. Yes, they are, aren't they? My little lovelies that you all are. Okay, and I hope that life is treating you most deliciously wherever you are in the world. Now, then, so first of all, first things first, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? So, it's nearly 10 to 10 a.m. in our old England, my delicious little babies, okay? And the weather is a bit windy. It is a complete, it's a very bright, but it is a grey sky, okay? No sunshine, and yeah, it is a bit chilly, okay? My delicious little babies. So that's the weather forecast in my neck of the woods. Of course, you know, it could differ in other parts of old England, and of course anywhere else in the world, but I hope that you are all having super duper delicious weather wherever you are in the world. Now then, my delicious little babies, now what do I want to say? So first things first. So yeah, I just want to quickly mention something about St George. Yeah, if we look over the years, um, you know, St George's Day in our old England used to be one that was, there we are, very much so celebrated, you know, and, you know, I mean, you still see like some flags now, my delicious little babies, you know, because it seems to be all about the flags. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? But it was a time for ones to come out, you know, have parties, you know, and embrace all of, there we are, the happiness, you know, on that day. And of course, you know, other days are celebrated. Do you know what I mean? Okay. But when you look over the years, this seems to have changed rather a lot. Okay. So it's almost as if, you know, you're not, uh, you know, like allowed, shall we say, to celebrate what one's once thought was, you know, something very important. There we are, to celebrate. Okay. But I also want to talk about churches. Yeah, so I was watching a video yesterday evening, my delicious little babies. Okay, and when somebody went near this church, bless him, you know, just went near, you know, on the grounds. Well, the alarm went off. So why would an alarm go off inside a church? Okay, which you could hear from the outside, my delicious little babies. Now, as you know, and I know, my delicious little babies, you know, they had, shall we say, a lot of things now behind the church. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? So, yeah, so just gonna have a sip of my coffee. What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. 3, 2, 1, please and thank you. Now then, my delicious little babies. So, yeah, so, you know, I'm sure that one day, you know, the St. George will come back. My delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. Now then, so what do I have? What do I have? Right, okay. What have I got for you today, my little lovelies? Right. The first one, my delicious little babies, I have listened to this morning, and it is our dear, and of course, with anybody not in that way, our dear Stu Peters. Okay, so, you know, you can search engine of your choice, you know, I usually DuckDuckGo it, you know, and you just need to type in, you know, Stu Peters, you know, capital S, sorry, do forgive me, space, capital P, Peters, okay? Please and thank you. Should anybody have any form of an interest, if you scroll down slightly, it should say Stu Peters Rumble Network, okay? Network, Rumble, okay? My delicious little babies. And this is, what is it, 1 hour, 48 minutes and so many seconds, my delicious little babies. And This is uncancelable. I've got to say it now. Uncancelable. Uncancelable. Okay, my delicious little babies. Me and flipping pronunciations. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, my delicious little babies. I don't know. Sometimes I just cannot pronounce something. I get all tongue-tied. Do you know what I mean? My delicious little babies. Anyway, and yeah, he's got Dr. Brian Ardis on. Okay, my delicious little babies. So I'm going to leave you with that. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything more on this. Okay, yeah. And yeah, very interesting video to listen to, my delicious little babies. But we're going to go back to this again because you see, you do have, I mean, you know, bless Dr. Ardis, of course, you know, for doing his research. But if we go back, okay, and we go back to decades. So, by the way, it was an excellent video to listen to. So thank you, dear Stu Peters, and thank you, Dr. Ardis, okay? The fact of the matter is that we go back decades, you know, there's doctors out there. I've got a name wrote down, actually, of one doctor, and I deliberately, so this is not to keep information from my delicious little babies. No, it isn't. It's just that I do not want somebody else, there we are, getting wind of it. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay, because not everybody will know of this doctor, okay? And basically what it is that, you know, himself, there's another one who I've mentioned before, my delicious little babies, Dr. Brzezinski, who's in Texas, okay, I do believe. I haven't heard anything. I hope he's still alive, bless him. Yeah. But of course, with these dear doctors, they, you know, they do not, let's just say, get all of the mentions. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? But yeah, there's ones who have been doing this for decades. You know, not just for 5 minutes. You see what I mean, my delicious little babies, yes? But no, respect to Dr. Brian Ardis. I have mentioned him before, so it's nothing personal. It's just that's what it is. I've noticed with a lot of doctors now, especially since the old pandemic, and I will repeat this again, my delicious little babies, okay? Like everything is a book. It's all a book. Do you know what I mean, my delicious little babies? And of course, along with that comes, in some cases with some, there we are, egos. Now, I would never have any problem buying any book, but what I do not want to do is buy a book with ones with egos. You know what I mean, my delicious little babies, yes? So, yeah, and the doctor who I will not mention, so this is nothing personal to anybody, okay, my delicious little babies, okay? Well, he only wrote one book, just one, my delicious little babies, okay, on something, my delicious little baby, fungal, okay, my delicious little babies, okay? And, you know, at the end of the day, well, you know, he didn't want to, let's just say, participate in mainstream or anything, my delicious little babies. It wasn't his kind of thing now, do you see what I mean? They're the ones, there we are, who I have a lot of respect for. Dr. Brzezinski, he has been since 1984, bless him, you know, continuously, I'll repeat this again, continuously being taken to court, you know, and everything else now then, okay? When he clearly saved, there we are, many lives, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I mean? He just used a different method. Okay, my delicious, there we are, little babies, okay? So, sorry, excuse me. So this is not myself having a pop. I'm not having a pop. Sometimes the way that I come across probably comes across as rather catty or rather bitchy, but no, I've seen other doctors, especially since the old pandemic, where it's like, oh, all of a sudden, there we are, they're damn well experts, there we are. And of course, ones will still look up to them, but of course, along with that goes ego. And there's another one, Dr. John Campbell in Our Old England, My Delicious Little Baby's Kai. So I'm not saying that, he didn't turn things around now and, you know what I mean, everything like that now then. But, you notice that he tends to, mention a lot about charity, in Africa and everything like that. I personally do not have any issue with that because, if they're getting a beautiful quality of life and everything like that now then. However, what I had an issue with My Delicious Little Babies is, because, when certain promote certain books, My Delicious Little Babies, like the putrid effing Fauci, in Born in the USA. Oh, yeah, it's like, lift the book up, to read it. Yeah, he did that months ago. Yeah, there we are. I clock as much as what I can, My Delicious Little Babies Kai. So that is it. Let's look at this a different way, shall we, My Delicious Little Babies? So what that's doing is advertising somebody who has took it upon himself, and especially when he was there to do with the older AIDS pandemic, My Delicious Little Babies Kai, to advertise a piece of effing sharp, man. There we are. To do with a book. Again, My Delicious Little Babies. Do you follow what I'm saying to you? Yes. And of course, on some of these doctor channels, it's all about, there we are, having a mother's meeting instead of wanting to sort there we are, the problem out. Okay. But yes, I will say with Dr. Brian Hardish, yes, he does, to find the solutions. Do you see what I mean? Okay. Dr. What's her name? Jane Ruby, bless as well. She tries best, to there we are, to find solutions as well. My Delicious Little Babies. My issue, and I'm going to get back to it again. It's like a book here and a book there. Right, we've got to stop this silly damn business. I'm not saying that writing a book is not an important thing, or that it is not going to be informative for somebody. Okay. But we've got to push the damn egos, there we are, out of the way, My Delicious Little Babies, okay? Because like I said, there's some who got on the effing gravy train. There we are. Okay, My Delicious Little Babies are kind of like to have a mother's meeting, which I regard in the past 5 years, in fact decades, there we are, to be most serious. Okay, My Delicious Little Babies. So you see with myself, I never do nothing now without no reason, ever. Okay? So that's what I'm done saying. Do you know what I mean? So there's certain, and I was watching other doctors over the years. Do you see what, there we are. Do you see what I mean? My Delicious Little Babies, okay? But for most of them, simple things, they just do not want to put themselves in the limelight. They just want to sit back, write down what they need to write to explain, okay, and just be done with it. But I've seen so much, there we are, in this 5 year, My Delicious Little Babies, okay, makes you want to effing project in a bucket, man. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So that's all I'm done saying. So if somebody, I know with my beautiful, you're so very kind to listen to me. So thank you for any views, for any likes, for any, the occasional comments, and how I love you all so, okay? But for somebody who does not watch me regularly or anything like that, they probably think, oh, she's just been nothing but a little bitch, No. What I do, there we are, is I'll call a damn thing out for what it is now then. There we are. That is what I do. Okay? So we want to listen to solutions now, not like, oh, I got this and all this shat. Do you know what I mean, My Delicious Little Baby? So if I come across as a bitch, well, I come across as a bitch, isn't it? Just done, there we are, just done saying it the way it is. You know what I mean? That's what I say. Egos. My Delicious Little Babies. You see this here? This is little Rube. She had a little gingerbread man that was given to her, as a Christmas gift, one of these little squeakies, little gingerbread man. And anyway, so yesterday she decided, or was it the day before? Well, anyway, she took it all apart, my delicious little babies, and all that was left was so she took the squeak once again. Here we are, out of the squeak, my delicious little babies. Now then, so, and do you know it reminds you of, do you remember the old-fashioned bottles of perfume, my delicious little babies? Do you know, you'll remember them, like where you used to have to pour inside, then you used to sort of go, well, without the squeak, my delicious little babies. Do you remember? All them decades ago, that's what they used to do. And then, of course, then they turned it into, these squirty bottles, didn't they, my delicious little babies, But if you go back decades ago, I mean, they may do some, if they're, very expensive brands. I haven't looked into it, my delicious little babies, for years, but they used to even have, like perfume that you could actually, and then just put a bit on. You know what I mean? Or like this, And then it went to the squirts, didn't it, my delicious little babies, anyway? So, yeah. So, but no, I value anybody who, on any videos or whatever, if they're giving out good information and everything, okay? But then I get peed off when some, shall we just say, promoting things now. Do you know what I mean? We need to get back to the matter in effing hand. Do you know what I mean? There we are, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, okay. So ones must not get carried away now, So I'm not talking about Dr. Brian Hardis now. Anyway, my delicious little babies, okay. And I always like to send what I regard as being a positive comment, okay. But at the same time, here we are, I'll do it in a polite way, but ask them now, there we are, certain now, to check their damn selves, isn't it? Now then, my delicious little babies. So let's go to the first one, shall we, my delicious little babies? Now then, so this one, they're all on YouTube, my delicious little babies, okay? I'm not shouting at you, my delicious little babies, okay? I just get, there we are, sometimes very frustrated, okay? When we see that, who's doing what and who wants to help who, there we are. And, you got to sort the wheat from the chaff. Do you see what, there we are. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies, okay? And what's in it for some? There we are, just done saying it, okay? So what is it come out my trap now? Now then, my delicious little babies, so in the old space bar, should anybody have any form of an interest, my delicious little babies, cake, this is a small C, my delicious little babies. No, it isn't. It's a large. Is it large or small? Oh, anyway, if you just put in my delicious little babies, please and thank you. Cake, then a capital A, and cake again. So what it is, it's 2 words and 1 letter. It's all jammed together. Okay, my delicious little babies, cake, A, cake. Okay, my delicious little babies, or cake. This uploader happens to have 192,000 subscribers, my delicious little babies. This is on YouTube, on old YouTube. And the video should read, it's 9.5 minutes long, my delicious little babies. And it should read, how to make mini cakes at home, simple. Okay, my delicious little babies, so I'm just going to repeat that again for you, shall I? How to make mini cakes at home, simple. So we're going to tick that one off. My delicious little babies, yes. Very interesting, actually. Being dipped in all different, coloured chocolates and everything, my delicious little babies. Anyway, so let's go on to the next one, shall we? Sorry, excuse me, my delicious little babies. Now then, so the next one, and by the way, something, I found myself, last week, I just thought I'd mention it. Last week, I thought, so I bought some donuts anyway, I'd give them away. I had one. It's not like myself to have a lot of sweet stuff at all, my delicious little babies, ever. Do you know what I mean? It's a rarity to see me do that, okay? But I thought, oh, I'll have a donut, a jam donut. Okay, I was drawn to maybe the sugar or something, my delicious little babies anyway. And then this week, I thought, flip me. So I had 2 donuts. But now, I don't want anything sweet at all, my delicious little babies, okay? Anyway, I give the rest away. And, on birth occasions, my delicious little babies, okay? And I thought, yeah, donut. Dunkin' Donut. If you look, especially in our old England, there's a shopping centre down the road, not the one up the road, but there's another one, okay? And, for years now, they had like a donut stand, my delicious little babies. Yeah. Like things just pop up, don't they, my delicious little babies? Do you know what I mean? Over the years now. Yeah. But now, if somebody put a donut in front of me, I wouldn't want one. Look at that. My delicious little babies anyway. So this one here, this is on YouTube, my delicious little babies. So this uploader happens to have 4.55 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies. Now I've got to spell this out. So it's English, capital E, my delicious little babies, space, capital W with, and then space, capital S, cider. So I'm going to spell that out for you, my delicious little babies. SYEDAH. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay, so it's cider, okay, English with cider, or cider, anyway, cider, okay, however, so I do apologise about the pronunciation, so do forgive me. A video should read, all Israeli brands and products in one video. Israeli brands, A to Z, Israeli products. Okay, my delicious little babies, so I'm just going to repeat this again for you, shall I? All Israeli brands and products in one video. Israeli brands, A to Z, Israeli products. Yes, my delicious little babies, and I took it upon myself, because myself, I do look at some comments, my delicious little babies, and it's interesting. I looked at a few, there we are, extra comments, my delicious little babies, what one's thoughts were. Do you see what I mean? Okay, yeah. There was Israel, and what was the other one? There's a lot to do with Pakistan, my delicious little babies, yeah. But yeah, interesting. I mean, you've heard over the years, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? Different brands and everything. But somebody put in one of the comments, but you do have like other, is it words to affect shareholders or something, my delicious little babies? But as I always say, especially, in later decades, my delicious little babies, it always goes back to one, doesn't it? You know what I mean, my delicious little babies? Do you see what I'm saying, okay? So, anyway, the reason why I mentioned the video, it's up to yourselves. Should anybody, please and thank you, have any form of an interest, just for you to look at your thoughts, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. Okay. So, so that's that really with that video. Now then, my delicious little babies, this is the final video. In this video, I think it's 17 minutes, 44 seconds, and I'm halfway through it. And I've just been listening to it before I came on my video to you beautiful little selves, my little lovelies, yes? And this uploader on YouTube happens to have 1.33 thousand subscribers, my delicious little babies. I think this video was uploaded, was it 3 days ago, I think? Okay, my delicious little babies. Capital R in the old space bar, my delicious little babies, okay? Raz, as in rise and shine, space capital O of, and then space capital A, Africa, my delicious little babies. Okay, so should read Raz space of space Africa. Okay, my delicious little babies, on old YouTube. Okay, that's the uploader. The video should read Mansa Musa. Yeah, I've heard about Mansa Musa, yes. Okay. The richest man in history, African king who shook the world. Okay, my delicious little baby, so I'm just going to repeat that again for you, shall I? Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, African king who shook the world. Okay, my delicious little babies, and his men, what he sold was gold and salt. Okay, my delicious little babies. Now, this is like 13th, 14th century. Okay, my delicious little babies. And like I said, I'm halfway through listening. And then they talk about Egypt in this video as well, my delicious little babies. Okay, and yeah, and the talk about Ivory, that went. Now, I've got to be honest with you, my delicious little babies, I'm very against anything to do with Ivory, my delicious little babies, because let's just put it this way, it is the damage and the loss of life to so many beautiful, dear little elephants in the world, my delicious little babies. Okay, so yeah, because as we very well know, I'm not here to upset or offend, but as you would know, they were killed, murdered for their tusks. Okay, my delicious little babies. Okay, so I'm very much, there we are, against it, my delicious little babies. Okay, and have been, there we are, for decades. Now, so there was that part anyway, but getting back to the other part anyway, the point of the matter is he wanted to make it better for, and he stood in place because somebody else couldn't be the king. So he took over and then became the king. Okay, my delicious little babies. But we must always remember, my delicious little babies, okay, that gold is dust. That's where the word comes from. The words gold, dust. Okay, my delicious little babies, and then what they do, they gather it and then they make it into something else. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? So, you can get solid gold, you can get liquid gold, as my dear dad would call it, liquid gold, Carla. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? And salt. Well, I mean, I've been done saying it for how many flipping decades, you know what I mean? Nobody's ever going to stop me from eating salt. And I always put, there we are, loads of salt. So whatever I cook, everybody, I can well assure you now, there we are, can taste the salt, okay? But I try not to, oversalt things, for some of our beautiful little babies now, because, they may not want as much salt. Do you see what I mean? But for myself, I pile it in. What we told, that it is true. They said it now for decades, that salt is bad for you. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Can but the sugar and oils, there we are, that they're very good for you. Do you see what I mean, my delicious little babies? Can so anyways, that's all the videos. We just got to remember, squeak, 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 squeak. Okay, my delicious little babies. It's like having a little mouse. That's what they say, don't they? Like you can hear a little mouse. Squeak, squeak. See what I mean, my delicious little babies? Anyway, so that's the end of our video. So please, very interesting videos that we are to take a look at today, my delicious little babies. Okay, but no, this king of Africa, he did sound like, there we are, only from what I've been hearing halfway through, up to that point, that he was a decent king, and also for the fact that he tried not to, if he could, to do with conflicts. He wanted to be more, there we are, reasonable, to talk. Do you see what I mean? Okay. Which brings us up to the present day, my delicious little babies, okay? And what we've seen over the decades, where some now, they don't want to talk because, as we very well know, certain industries, ones make a lot of, oh, I could do that, couldn't I, my delicious little babies? But I've got to do this. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Okay, my delicious little babies, okay? So, you have one who wants to talk, and then you have others who prefer not to go down that route, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. So, yeah. And when we take a look at our putrid, well, he'll never be a king to myself, my delicious little babies, in our old England. Well, he's one to talk, isn't he? My delicious little babies, you know what I mean? When he talks about the organics, what do they do? Put a patch in the sky, so that the ums do not go up, so that the organic can be grown, my delicious little babies. I do not think so. Oh, stumbled there. Let's rewind and start again. Because the wind blurs, doesn't it? My delicious little babies, what do they do? Just keep that patch in the sky, solely for organic. My delicious little babies, is it food for thought? Food for thought. So even though I buy organic, but I was done talking about this months and months ago anyway, my delicious little babies, okay? I even explained to ones on my video. I don't think I even probably got 1 or 2 views for that. You know what I mean? The truth about organic, my delicious little babies, when you really dig deep into it. But, we try our best to try and, get something decent to eat, decent food or decent water, you know what I mean? But as we very well know, many things are that we are contaminated, aren't they, my delicious little babies? Do you see what I mean, okay? Just like in our old Brummyland, the other day with the boiler, bless them. Not in that way, the dear boiler gentlemen and the carpenters and everything. And they said, oh, is it classed as, in our Brummyland, where we are, as hard water or soft? I said, no, it's not hard. Anyway, I have a reason, there we are, to believe differently, my delicious little babies. Because, as I pointed out on my other videos, from 1964, they were putting fluoride in the water. There we are in our Brummyland, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. So, yeah. So that's all I have to say today, my delicious little babies, okay? Ones will probably think I'm on one today, my delicious little babies. Well, actually, I'm not. Because I woke up, there we are, in a super duper, there we are, delicious mood. And my fences, they were done yesterday. Because for myself, it was like lower fences. But, my beautiful dear little family upstairs, they wanted, these 6-foot fences, because I suppose you just want the privacy as little family, because we've all got like lower fences, my delicious little babies. So I just put towards, you know what I mean, because this part here is mine. So anyway, so I put towards it, but so now I've got 6-foot fences, my delicious little babies. I did say, well, I'll get used to it, my delicious little babies. She said to me, it's like you feel even more sort of, that we are boxed in. But I did it, and I'm not being two-faced, my delicious little babies. I've actually spoken to my beautiful dear little neighbours, her dear little husband-to-be, bless, you know what I mean? So I'm not being two-faced on my video. I just said, oh, well, I'll get used to it. I said, and I did make a point, I said, I put towards it, contributed towards it. I said, out of respect for yourselves as my beautiful dear little family upstairs. Do you know what I mean? So I'm looking at, You know, my beautiful little baby daughters, they're growing up now, do you know what I mean? But for a younger little family, do you understand what I mean, my delicious little babies? But that's what it's like in old England, you know, because these flats are years old. I think they must have been made in the early 1960s, my delicious little babies, okay, you know, and they're larger rooms and everything, you know what I mean? You know, compared to the box houses and flats that you see these days, my delicious little babies, anyway. But it's very clear that they all had lower fences. But when you look over the decades, ones wanted, there we are, 6 foot fences, my delicious little babies, you know what I mean? So, say, for example, if you was in a plane, you know, and you was to look down, you'd see lots of little boxes with houses, my delicious little babies. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. Anyway, but yeah, I'm sure I'll get used to it. What I'll have to do is I'll paint them and then put some little things on it, you know, to make it look, you know, so when I look out my window, do you know what I mean, my delicious little baby, so that it looks more pleasing, my delicious little babies. But, you know, if it makes me beautiful, dear little family happy upstairs, well, bless their beautiful, dear little souls, because they're the most beautiful little family ever. Do you know what I mean? And I feel truly blessed. Do you know what I mean? But, so yeah, so, you know, so I'm not being nasty. It's just it's a bit of a shock, you know, like going from the short fences to the flipping 6 foot. Do you see what I mean, Martin? It's just like babies, okay, all the way flipping across. Do you know what I mean, Martin? It's just like babies, but a lick of paint and, you know, maybe some little lights and some little, you know, to make it look more pleasing. Like I said, my delicious little babies, and I'm sure I'll get used to it, okay? Anyway, so until my next video, sending peace, love, harmony, and bright blessings to each and every one of you. May your beautiful little selves and your beautiful little families, may you all be fully protected, okay? And please take care of yourselves now, and please try to take care of others, because we are in a bonkers, crackers, and crazy world. And please continue to good vibrations. Okay, my delicious little babies, changes. Love ya. Goodbye.